Okay, let's talk about Mr. J. Embry. Loserano Pavarotti. He thinks he solved the case for about the 8,000th time because of some documents that he put two and two together on. So let's get right to it.
I now can tell you so much about this case. I can tell you that was Farley driving away at 424.
Sure, Jan.
I can tell you exactly who the dumpster guy is.
Sure, Jan.
I can tell you exactly who the guy is that got in the car at 4:59 and said that's it.
Sure, Jan.
I can tell you all that, and I can back it up with the docs that prove what I'm saying.
Sure, Jan.
But in this one, we're going to start with I See You Farley. But this tip comes in on November 5th, 2024. And I can tell you what this tip was. This was Farley in that protection unit probably wanting to get out because, he agreed to them putting him in that protection unit, I'm sure. So he's probably wanting to get out. So what he does is he sends a message to none other than Bill Thompson, but he sends it in a cryptic way, but he puts enough truth in it to scare Bill Thompson to the point to where he turns Farley over to a specific person.
Sure, Jan.
And you can see on October 29, 2024, the Idaho State Police Detective Sergeant Darren Gilbertson, who is the lead detective on the case, he receives a request from the Latah County Prosecutor's Office. So he receives a request from Latah County Prosecutor's Office to follow up on a tip. And that tip is no doubt from Tyson Farley.
Actually, no, that tip is not from Tyson Farley. I know how badly Pav wants it to be from Farley. And I knew as soon as I saw some of that stuff in the documents that he was going to try to claim that. But it's not. Let's take a look at why we know it's not. So if we look at this tip, the person claims that they had been in jail from October 28th, 2022 through December 9th, 2022, both Spokane and Kootenai County. Detective Payne of the Moscow Police Department contacted both Spokane County and Kootenai County Sheriff's Departments. Spokane County stated that blank was arrested in Airway Heights on November 23rd, 2022 for assault. He was then transferred to Kootenai County for a warrant. Neither detention center has any records of blank having broken feet because this person's trying to claim his feet got broken because he stopped for a car accident he witnessed, of which the car accident also never took place. There's no record of any such car accident in the month prior when this person was stating that. But they said Kootenai County reported having blank listed as having blank blank. Additionally, the dates of incarceration do not match what he stated in the interview with S.A. O'Neill. Okay, so we know this is not Farley because Farley had no warrants out from Kootenai County and was never in jail ever in Kootenai County. But this person, whoever it was in jail in Kootenai County and did have a Kootenai County warrant out for their arrest. And that was confirmed to Brett Payne that they were at Kootenai County jail because he called them and they had a record of this guy being there. And it doesn't sound like he had broken feet. But just in case you're one of those people that goes, well, I don't believe you, show me proof that Farley hasn't been in Kootenai County jail, I will show you. So this is from Spokane County when Farley got arrested, and I believe he did get arrested on the 22nd, not the 23rd, but his first appearance was on the 23rd. But you can see right here, the affidavit of probable cause is the warrant with the jurisdiction of Latah County charging the defendant with crimes. So, Latah, not Kootenai. This is what's listed on his file for that arrest in Spokane County. So here is his I-Court documentation, which is all of the times that he has been in trouble in the state of Idaho. And you can go down this list. You'll see Latah County, 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 Latah County. Getting tired of saying Latah County. Ooh, Benawah County, Latah County, Latah County, Latah County, Latah County, Benoit County, Latah County, Latah County, Latah. Folks, there is not one Kootenai County in here. He has never been in jail in Kootenai County. He does not have any warrants out in Kootenai County. So, see for yourself. So, as you can see, that tip did not come in from Tyson Farley. So even though, the federal agent says that person had been an informant but was a known liar, they weren't lying about being over in Kootenai County because Brett Payne called and verified with them. So that was somebody that had a warrant out of Kootenai County, not Tyson Farley. I did find a person that matches all of that information. Was arrested for assault on the 23rd of November in Spokane. Had a Kootenai County warrant, went over to Kootenai County, looked at their record. They were a frequent flyer in and out of the court system for drugs, and they were subsequently put into the maximum security prison down there in Kuna, Idaho, until spring of 2025. So they match with everything. Now, obviously that person was trying to make up something just to see if they could get a reduced sentence or get out. It happens all the time. And the amount of false tips that law enforcement has to go through. And obviously Bill Thompson wasn't sure whether it was a real tip or not, so that's why he had Gilbertson and then the FBI look at it, and the guy was blowing smoke. And the other thing is, if there was anything credible to it, because Pav still seems to think there's credibility to these things. If there's anything credible to those tips, and if it was really Farley, don't you think Anne would have mentioned him as one of the alternate suspects instead of the ones she did? Think about it. If there was any proof to anything, she would have been screaming it from the rooftops. All that is another person that likely heard all the information going around the interwebs about the house being a drug house, which wasn't true. But they probably were listening to all the made-up stories on here from people like Tommy Jude, etc., Pav, with the Fetty Bros, and thought, oh, I can just say that I provided security for drug deliveries to that house. Yeah, that ought to get me a reduced sentence if they think I know something. Because if it was truly the case that this person knew something about the murders of that house, why wouldn't they come forward back in 2022? Why did they wait until April of 2024 to call in a tip? Yeah, it's because they had heard all this scuttlebutt on the rumor mill and thought they could cash in on it and try to get out early. So, but let's continue.
Special Agent O'Neill stated he continually sought out law enforcement to try to help himself out when he got into trouble, but he never had a credible or reliable information. Yeah, he's the reason that y'all bogged up the whole freaking IGG thing, guy.
Hey, Loseratti, can you please explain how Tyson Farley caused any issue with the IGG? How? Where? What are you referring to? Because, again, Tyson Farley had nothing to do with this case. Not even mentioned in any of the documents. Not on Anne's radar, from what we can tell. So how did he mess up anything with the IGG process? I don't think your elevator is running all the way to the top. And I'm not going to play the rest of his part talking about Agent O'Neill because, quite frankly, I don't want to play it again because it's defamation. Okay, he tries to accuse Agent O'Neill of being involved in illegal dealings, basically, and I just don't. I'm not going to tolerate that, so I'm not going to play what he says about Agent O'Neill. So let's move on.
I applaud those people that actually put out the video of 1112 without the, statesman's edits on it. Because not only can you clearly hear things happening before the white car ever stop, but you can also see the vehicle that's driving away at 424. And here's where everybody gets sideways on this. I've told y'all for a long time who was in that vehicle. That's Farley.
Sure, Jan.
That vehicle was found in the river up in Spokane on the 22nd, and it was stolen.
Actually, no, the vehicle at the apartments in Moscow was not the one that was found in the Spokane River. I have a FOIA request from Spokane County. I already posted on a video several months back, and it was part of this Kia Hyundai auto theft ring. They even set up a task force in Spokane. And they caught the people responsible for not only that vehicle being in the river, but several other thefts and vandalism acts. And it was a middle schooler and a 14-year-old. They were part of that whole Kia Boys theft ring that was taking place. So no, Tyson Farley did not steal that vehicle. Tyson Farley was not driving that vehicle. Tyson Farley did not put that vehicle into the river. So Pav believes this video is a Kia Seltos because the one that was found in the river up in Spokane was a red Kia Seltos. But looking at this video, and you can draw your own conclusions, I personally do not believe it's a Kia Seltos. It looks to me like it is a full-size SUV, not a small to mid-size SUV. The lines on it to me do not look like a Seltos. I believe it's the same vehicle that was seen pulling back in around 6:30 in the morning. I believe it's that woman that said she worked the night shift. It looks like the exact same vehicle to me, and we'll look at some still shots. And just for reference, here is what a Kia Seltos looks like. And you can see it is like a mid-size SUV. It's not a full-length SUV. Especially pay attention to that rear, that third window. Look how small it is, like that wing window. And then we'll look at the one that was on the 1112 camera and then also on the Linda Lane footage. I know these still shots aren't the best, but I just want you to look at like the windows and kind of the shape of the car. And now here it is when it is pulling out of Linda Lane. So before you saw it on that other video, leaving past 1112 on its way out. So this is the one that everybody thought was a big truck, like the big rumbly bumbly truck. And you can tell it's a full-size SUV. It to me looks larger than a Seltos. And the body shape just, to me, different than a Seltos. And then here's when it's pulling back in the morning, about 6:35 a.m. You can see it's a big full-size SUV. So, in my opinion, not the same vehicle that Pav thinks it is.
When you look up that arrest in Spokane, Washington, you'll see where the mission was that Farley was at, right next to Airway Heights.
No, Pav, the mission that Farley was staying at is not right next to Airway Heights. It's about 15 minutes away. It's in downtown Spokane compared to out by the airport and then Fairchild Air Force Base. And also, when Farley got arrested in Spokane County, it wasn't in Airway Heights.
Everything seemed to just kind of flow from there.
Sure, Jan.
And that's why I say some of this stuff is it's got to be divine intervention the way it happens to me.
Sure, Jan.
So let's move on to talk about who a very likely person was to actually have been one of the unalivers in the case and see if we can figure out how to identify him. Okay, so keeping that first doc in mind that I showed you on Farley, giving a little bit of information, the ISP is investigating something suspicious. And you can see this is the Spokane Medical Examiner's Office in Spokane. And it says on November 23rd, 2022, Idaho State Police Detective Leslie Lehman, retrieved DNA swabs collected by the Spokane County Medical Examiner's Office from, and they give a blanked out name with a date of birth of 1983. I transported the swabs to MPD and placed the evidence in their control. Now, you see how certain things kind of match up Farley's statement?
Sure, Jan.
Due to Blank's unusual behavior leading up to his death, Ricardo and his staff felt it necessary to secure his DNA sample and provide it for the Moscow unaliving investigators. Kind of cryptic right there, right? Well, if that was the only doc on that, then I wouldn't be able to correlate it too much to Farley's statement.
Sure, Jan.
Again, on November 23rd, same person we were talking about earlier in that report. Spokane County Medical Examiner's Office. The Idaho State Police is requesting photographs taken during the autopsy of whoever this person was, and they were conducted by Dr. Sean Ricardo on November 21st, 2022. All right, so now we're getting closer on these dates. So see how this goes back? Goes from November 23rd. Now the photographs are taken during the autopsy on November 21st. So we got to really dig in to find out what date this person, whatever happened to him. Which finally brings us to this one right here. This is number 222. Lewiston auto wreck that correlates to Tyson's police report.
Sure, Jan.
And you can see reported 11/21. And as we go through this, we know it is the same lead. On Monday, November 21st, 2022, the FBI received an anonymous call about an unnamed person being brought into the hospital in Lewiston, Idaho. Anonymous call, huh? And later flown to Spokane, Washington, to the probably hospital. But Idaho State Police Senior Detective Gary Tollison assisted in finding out who this unnamed person was. And then they identified him as the 39-year-old, born in 1983, has a Lewiston, Idaho address. Idaho State Police Detective Jake Schwicky contacted the Latah County Sheriff's Office, Nez Perce Sheriff's Office, and the Lewiston Police Department. No collision was reported, but a vehicle registered to this guy was found abandoned in a field later. This guy was found partly clothed and injured, wandering in the streets of Lewiston. This was on November 15th, 2022. Detective Sergeant Mike Van Leuven contacted, I guess, the hospital in Spokane and found out that this person had subsequently died while in the hospital. So something happened to him in Lewiston on the 15th. They found him all injured with his car in the field somewhere, they later found. And the coroner says, I don't think these wounds are indicative of a car accident. And that's when the autopsy started on this guy. They told me that he had contacted somebody's mother who told him that he had been sober for the last 4 years. But 2 weeks prior to his death, he had left the house on November 8, 2022, and did not return. He was found wandering the streets of Lewiston with cuts and abrasions on his torso and arms and transported to the hospital. Now, this is the closest thing that I can find to anything that even resembles what they're saying in these docs about a man found in, on Highway 95 or running through town in Lewiston with injuries, and he wasn't in a car on November 15th. So this is one of the actual unalivers, folks.
Sure, Jan.
We can just find this report. This is the closest article I can find to even come to it, and this wasn't written until November 25th. And it's talking about a man that is unalived in a crash on Highway 95 south of Moscow after colliding with a truck. So if this is it, it's a cover-up story. It's very, very suspicious. If we can figure out who this guy is that this happened to in Lewiston on November 15th, and then they transported him, med-flighted him to the Spokane Medical Center, where they figured out that it wasn't a car wreck, and it was very suspicious enough to take his DNA and send it in to the investigators. I'm about 99% certain that this individual they thought was a weak link. They unalived him probably because he got cut up so bad during the atrocity.
Sure, Jan.
But we got to figure out who this guy is. It shouldn't be that hard, but I can't seem to find nothing on it.
A lot to unpack here. So apparently there was a man that was found injured wandering around in Lewiston on November 15th of 2022. He was airlifted to Spokane, later died in the hospital in Spokane. An anonymous staff member at the medical examiner's office called the FBI because for whatever reason they felt that it may be related to the Idaho case. They felt the person's injuries were not consistent with a car accident. Law enforcement did find that the guy's car had been abandoned in a field. And the man's mom had said he had left home like a week prior and hadn't returned. Had been sober and then... Anyways, it sounds like something tragic happened to this man, but it wasn't murder. Okay? There has never been any murder charges brought. There was never any indication in the autopsy report that it was murder. And not related to the Idaho case in the end. Okay. But Pav is so sure that this guy that died up in the hospital in Spokane was one of the murderers of the Idaho Four. And he's gone so far as to post the person's picture and name, which is highly irresponsible. But again, everything he does is highly irresponsible. So now people are going on to this young man's, well, he wasn't young, but he's younger than me, so I call him a young man, onto the YouTube of his funeral service. And I now saw people commenting on there today. So good job, Pav. You now have unleashed your rabid fan group on another innocent family. And his family members should not have to deal with you and your false accusations. And especially when this man can't defend himself because he's deceased. I notice how you like to pick on people that are deceased because you know that they can't come after you and sue you. Brett Kopaka, now this guy, the Idaho victims trying to claim they somehow were involved with their own deaths, that they were a drug house. Irresponsible and disgusting. Also, that article of the crash that you shown, maybe you should read a little bit better because that was November 25th of 2024. So not even related in any way, shape, or form to what happened on November 15th of 2022. But you're like, this seems like a cover-up. No, you're just lacking brain cells. And you're not very good at this crime-solving stuff. Don't quit your day job, and please do better. Quit falsely accusing people. There's no reason to keep dragging more and more people into your delusions.